light and has become apparent and manifest from that which is not guidance, that which is dalal, that which is misguidance. In analyzing this verse today, the first question that arises before anything else is an important issue that the Mufassirin discuss, the scholars of Quran discuss when looking at this verse. And that question is that when we hear of Ayatul Kursi being one of the greatest verses, in actual fact, the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam was once asked by his companion Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, Ya Rasulullah, what is the best verse that was revealed to you in Quranul Kareem? He said the best verse, the best of the verses of Quran is Ayatul Kursi. So the question comes, is لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى, to the end. And the next verse, are these two verses 256 and 257 included in Ayatul Kursi, or is Ayatul Kursi only 255? Because we understand that there were certain verses that were only given to the Prophet of Islam, and there were certain verses in Quran that were given to previous prophets of previous nations as well. Certain verses in the Quran, if we were to take them and change them into the language of the Bible or the Torah or the scriptures of Dawood, you would find those verses there as well. However, there were certain things given to the Prophet of Islam that it was a sole gift and a special gift and a unique reward solely for the Prophet of Islam and us, his ummah. For example, the verse Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un was not given to any other nation other than this nation. Or the verse قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Only we were given this verse, as well as Ayatul Kursi. So the question comes, when I hear all of these merits of Ayatul Kursi, that if someone has this illness, recite Ayatul Kursi, and someone wants to be saved from X, Y, and Z, recite Ayatul Kursi. Is Ayatul Kursi just 255, or is it 256 and 257 as well? The scholars that say Ayatul Kursi is only one verse, and that's Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum ila akhir al-ayah. They say, number one, the proof of this is that in the narrations we are told Ayatul Kursi, not Ayatul Kursi. Ayah is singular, Ayat is plural. If it included all three of the verses, we would call it Ayatul Kursi and not Ayatul Kursi. The second thing they say that the word Kursi is only mentioned in 255. Therefore, it only makes sense that Ayatul Kursi refers to this verse. As well as other traditions they use to support this claim. Traditions, for example, from Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, where he speaks of the 50 words in Ayatul Kursi. And if you count, there are only 50 words in which verse? 255. So most believe that in actual fact Ayatul Kursi is not all three, it's only 255. However, the scholars say that when I am told to recite Ayatul Kursi, for example, when a person passes away and in the first night of their burial, I am told to recite a salah called Salatul Wahsha. Salatul Wahsha can be recited in two ways. One of the ways is that in the first rak'ah you recite what? Ayatul Kursi after Suratul Hamd. And in the second rak'ah after Suratul Hamd you recite 10 times Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. So based on precaution and ihtiyat, the ulama say even though the proofs show that Ayatul Kursi is only one verse, however when I am to recite Ayatul Kursi in a salah, for example, I have to include 256 and 257. Therefore most believe that La ikraha fi din was not included in what was called Ayatul Kursi, however it was read as a form of precaution. Once this has been understood, then the question comes as to why this verse was revealed. When you look at Ulumul Quran and the scholars, when they look at verses of Quran, the primary discussion that they have in Quran is why is it that one verse was revealed? Because as we know, yes, it was revealed on different times, for different occasions, for different reasons. For example, the Jews came to the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they said, Ya Rasulullah, every single person in this life has a father, has a mother, has a family, has a tribe, has a genealogy. Tell us the genealogy of your Lord. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, how? Allah said, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ Ahad, and the surah was revealed. This is the reason why that verse or that surah was revealed. Or for example, when the Ansar gave half of their wealth for the Muhajirun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَسَاسًا. In the same way, the question comes, why was it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse, لَا إِكْرَاهَ فِي الدِّينِ, there is no compulsion in religion? This issue and this question, when it is answered by Mufassireen, they give different views, and there exist 3 or 4 different views with regards to this. One of the views that existed is that in Madinatul Munawwara, there was a person from the Ansar who had a slave who he had bought from Africa. When he had brought this servant from Africa into his household, naturally he was a Muslim and the servant is a non-Muslim. And so he wasn't happy that I'm living with this person is washing my dishes, this person is cooking my food. I wish him to be a Muslim. So because he did not want to live with someone who was non-Muslim, he asked the Prophet of Islam, Ya Rasulullah, am I allowed to force this servant who is in my employment, who I have bought from Africa, who I have spent money on, who belongs to me, am I allowed to force him to accept the religion of Islam? That's when the verse was revealed, La ikraha fid din. You cannot force anyone towards any religion or any ideology or any thought. This was one idea. The second idea that was given was no. In actual fact, there was a person also from the Ansar by the name of Abu Hasin. Abu Hasin had 2 young children. And as we know, Madinatul Munawwara was such a place that it was a place when anyone was going on a trade route, they would stop through Medina. So mathalan, I'm going to Makkatul Mukarramah, I'm going to Yemen, Ta'if, or the other places, they would often stop through Medina. 2 merchants who sold oil, the oil that is eaten, they had passed through Madinatul Munawwara, and they were Christian from Damascus. When they were passing through Madinatul Munawwara, what is the norm in society? The norm in society is that whenever a trading caravan passes through, or a businessman comes from Syria or Yemen or Mecca or wherever, people would gather around. What is your merchandise? How much is the price of this merchandise? Let us do some sort of transaction. So right enough, when these 2 Damascus Christians had entered into Medina, the 2 sons of Abu Hasin began speaking with them. And while speaking with these 2 people from Damascus, they were influenced by their ideology and they decided to leave the religion of Islam and accept Christianity. And we are told these were the first in the history who left the religion of Islam for another religion or another ideology or another school of thought. When they left, then they decided to go with these 2 to Damascus, to Syria. And the father, Abu Hasin, is very upset. So Abu Hasin comes to the Prophet of Islam. He says, Ya Rasulullah, they are my children. When they were young, I would feed them, I would tell them what to do, I would force them to do certain things when they were younger. Pray your salah, do this, let's go visit the Prophet of Islam. Can I today go into Damascus and Syria and force them to come back to Islam? That's when some scholars say the verse was revealed, La ikraha fid din, there is no compulsion in religion. The third understanding was something different. The third understanding of this verse, and all of them have something in common which we'll discuss. The third understanding is that in the pre-Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic period, the Jahiliyyah period, when a woman gives birth and the child passes away in a few days, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, that woman would be called miqlat. Miqlat referred to that woman. She gives birth, after a few days, after a few weeks, after a few months, her child passes away. So here there's a slight difference of opinion of historians. Some say what happened is that there was a woman in Medina. She was miqlat. Whenever she had given birth to a child, very soon after the birth, the child passes away. So what she would do is she would give her milk to the newborn children in the Jewish tribe of Banu Nadir. As we know, we can have a wetness in Islam. This is a concept everywhere. So she, because she had the milk, but the child has passed away, she would give her milk to the Jewish tribe, the sons and the daughters of the Jewish tribe in Banu Nadir. In Islam and in fiqh and jurisprudence, if certain conditions are met of rida'ah, of breastfeeding, then the woman, if she gives her milk to the child, that child becomes mahram to her and mahram to her children as well. So sometimes in fiqh you have two types of relatives. One is the relative through blood, one is the relative through rida'a, through breastfeeding. And there are many discussions in this in fiqh. So what they say, what happened is this woman, her child passes away. She breastfeeds, for example, a child and gives her milk to a child in Banu Nadir, or many children, for example, or there's many miqlat. What happens then, many years later, Islam comes. And Islam, during one period in time, the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had brought down certain legislation for Banu Nadir. Banu Nadir have to remove, cannot enter into this place, XYZ, whatever. When this took place, those women who were miqlat, they said, Ya Rasulullah, but there are people there in Banu Nadir who are our sons. How? Not through blood, but through rida'a, through the milk. Therefore, can we force them to accept Islam so that these laws do not fall on them and only fall on the other people of Banu Nadir? Then the verse came, La ikraha fid din. All three of these different ideas as to why this verse was revealed show us that La ikraha fid din, there is no compulsion in religion, was revealed with regards to those people who are not Muslim and people are trying to force them to become Muslim. Some said this is specific only to the Ansar, the tribe Ansar. Some said it is specific to Ahlul Kitab only. Others said no. La ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in religion. It's specific for all non-Muslims, but not for Muslims, as the discussion will come. Once then we have understood why this verse was revealed, the question then comes and arises as to what was the meaning of ikrah and what was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to say. Why is it not possible to force any person into religion and deen? Let's say, for example, it is Shahr Ramadan. And in Shahr Ramadan, I'm fasting, of course, a wajib fast. And a person comes up to me. This person comes up to me and he takes a knife. And he says, if you do not break your fast, I'm going to injure you. This action of the person who takes a knife, if you do not open your fast, I will injure you. This is called ikrah. When you force someone in this way. This is one scenario. The other scenario is what? I'm fasting in Shahr Ramadan, wajib fast. A person comes, he ties my hands, he ties my legs, he opens my mouth, he takes this water and he puts it down my throat. This is not called ikrah. The first is called ikrah what? He tells me if you don't do this, I will hurt you. The second is I'm forced. Now English, you can't really translate them in a different way. Ikrah is the first one. The second is called ijbar. That there is no option. He ties my hands, he ties my legs, and he makes me break the fast. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say La ijbara fid din. Allah said La ikrah fid din. So what does that mean? That means there's ijbar in deen? Allah said no ikrah. No ikrah. That means ijbar is allowed? There's a verse in Quran. La taqul lahuma uffin. To your parents, don't say uff. Does that mean I can say any other thing I want, but I don't say uff? So I can say all of the words in the dictionary and those that are not in the dictionary and those that the children don't even know, I can say that to my parents, but I can't say uff. No, if uff is haram, then anything greater than uff is haram. This is called awlawiyya. If ikrah is not found in religion, of course ijbar is not found in religion, naturally. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't have to say la ijbara fid din. He just said la ikrah. Naturally you understand if there is no ikrah, there is no ijbar. Why then is it that there cannot be compulsion in a religion? The answer comes with regards to the word in Arabic for belief. In Arabic, the word for belief or beliefs is aqidah. Aqidah comes from the word aqd, which means to tie a knot. So I have a rope and I tie a knot. A person, for example, gets married. What is this called? Aqdun nikah. Because each other are tied to one another. I go and buy something in the supermarket. In Arabic, this is called aqdul bay'. Why? Bay'. Because that new product mentally is tied towards me, and the money I gave to that person for that product is now tied. Ownership is tied towards him. Aqd therefore means to tie. Because a person's religion and a person's belief is tied towards his heart, that's why it was called aqidah. Why then does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say la ikraha fi din? It's not possible. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. The guidance has become clear and manifest from the misguidance. I came to you, for example, and I said, I force you not to like this person. For example, a person came to our house for the first time. I said to you, I force you not to like this person. Is it possible? So I don't know. Whatever enters into my heart, enters into my heart. I can't force anything into my heart. You woke up in the morning, the sun is there. I said, I force you to believe that it is night time. I could tell you 1,000 times. 1,000 people could force you to believe that it is night time. You will never believe it is night time. Because deen and religion has something to do with the heart. And as we are told, whatever enters into the heart becomes the amir of the human being, becomes the commander of the human being. And I can't control what comes into my heart. That I may say, hate this person, but if you love this person, you can't control it. And no one can force you for that. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La ikra. Because religion is that knot, these beliefs are the knot that is tied onto the heart. You can never force anyone. Once that is in the heart, it can never be removed unless the heart wishes to remove it. And that's why in the time of the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sallam, there were a group of people who weren't Muslim, but they saw that I get certain fiscal benefits, I get certain financial benefits from being a Muslim, therefore maybe it's good that we become Muslim. So they said, Ya Rasulullah, amanna. قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. They said, we see that there is money in Islam to believe in this person they call Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is money and wealth here. So maybe if we say we believe, amanna, not we are Muslim, amanna, we are mu'min, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Rasul will give us that money as well. So they come to the Prophet, they say, Ya Rasulullah, amanna, we believe. He said, lam tu'minu, you haven't believed. Say aslamna, you have become Muslim. Because right now you are trying to force this iman into your heart. Lamma yadkhul al-iman fi qulubikum. The heart is such a thing, nothing can be forced into the heart. What the heart wants to accept, the heart will accept. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there is no compulsion in religion. With regards to this, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how this makes sense that قَدْ تَبَيْنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. There is an anecdote from the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Prophet of Islam sallallahu alayhi wa had once said, مَا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ خَلِيلًا إِلَّا لِإِطْعَامِهِ الطَّعَامِ وَصَلَاتِهِ بِاللَّيْلِ. That Ibrahim al-Khalil, why was he made a Khalil and a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The Prophet says two reasons only. Two reasons were the main factors behind the Prophet of Islam becoming Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the friend. He says, number one, Salatul Layl, his prayer in the night time. Secondly, the second reason is that he would feed other people. Because it's famous for Nabi Ibrahim, I'm sitting to eat my lunch. If there is no one around me, Ibrahim doesn't eat. Ibrahim would walk kilometers, the history mentioned. He would walk as much as he can until he finds someone to sit with him and to eat with him. And this was one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he became a Khalil, my Khalil. That whenever he wants to eat, he waits. Is there another servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whose stomach I can fill as well with this food? So one day Ibrahim alayhi salam, we are told, it is time for dinner or lunch or whatever. And as usual, there's no one in the house today. Normally the people in the house, they eat with him. Today there's no one in the house. So again, he has a problem. I only eat when there are others around me. So he goes out walking. And he walks. No one. It's my habit. Whenever I eat, I need to feed someone else first. He keeps walking until he finds one person only. Maybe the day was very hot, everyone is in their houses, whatever it may have been. He says, I found one person only. He went to this person, he says, will you eat with me? Yes, of course, why not? He sat down. Nabiullah Ibrahim is a prophet of God. He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And he begins to start. The person then takes whatever was there to eat, the bread or whatever, and he starts to put it in his mouth. Ibrahim says, wait, won't you say Bismillah? He says, what do you mean? So I said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I begin in the name of the beneficent, the merciful. He said, I don't believe in this God of yours. When he said, I don't believe in this God of yours, Ibrahim says, then fine, you don't get this bread of mine. You don't believe in my God, I don't feed you. He takes the food and he goes back. He walks back home. I won't eat today, fine, there's no one with me to eat. It's better to not eat than to eat with that person who doesn't believe in my God. So he goes home and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to him, Ibrahim, what did you do? He says, Ya Rasulullah, what do you mean? He says, you were going to feed that person. Why didn't you feed him? He says, Ya Rasulullah, he doesn't believe in you. He doesn't accept you. He doesn't believe in your existence. He says, oh Ibrahim, you could not feed him for one day for not believing in me. He doesn't believe in me and I have been feeding him from the day he was born. One meal you couldn't feed him because he doesn't believe in me. He doesn't believe in me and I have been feeding from him from the day he was born. So Ibrahim realizes, he goes back to that person. He says, eat now. He says, where is your Bismillah now? He says, my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, even if you don't say Bismillah, He will still feed you, so I feed you as well. Then the verse, what does it say? قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. When guidance becomes clear, there is no need to force anyone. Then that person says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And he ate the morsel of food. Because religion and deen is something of the qalb, something of the heart, not something that can be forced into the heart. Nothing can be forced into that which is in the qalb and the heart of the human being. There is, however, a misconception that people have. People often, there was an incident I'll mention in regards to this that I have remembered, a very interesting incident. During the Mughal Empire of India, there was one of these kings, Akbar. Now these people, okay, his name was Muslim. Well, that's it, basically. The rest is whatever he wants to do. He had 10 wives. Akbar had 10 wives. He says, I'm a Muslim, I'm a leader of Muslimin. So one day one of his religious advisors told him that Akbar, the Quran says, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. وَأَنْ خِفْتُمْ. And if you are fearful, the Quran says 3 or 2, 4, 3 or 2. And if you can't, then 1 only. You have done 10. Just say that again. Yes, the Quran says you can have 4 wives maximum. You have 10. Yes, so I'm not a Muslim? He says, look, the Quran says one thing, you're going against the Quran. So what do I do now? So he called one of his advisors and he says, sort out this problem for me. That I have 10 wives. I love my wives very much. Quran says 4 only. What can we do about this? This person also was a typical, very clever person. He said, Quran says 4. Then Quran says 3. What's 4 plus 3? He said 7. He says, then Quran says 2. What's 7 plus 2? He says 9. Then Quran says 1. What's 9 plus 1? 10. Akbar, you follow the Quran exactly. The point being what? If a person wants to get misguided from Quranul Kareem, they can get misguided from Quranul Kareem. If a person wants to take guidance from Quran, they will take guidance from Quran. If a person's mind is corrupt, he will make the understanding of the Quran in his mind corrupt as well. That's why when it comes to La ikraha fid deen, people often misunderstood this. Muslimin took this verse, and people have come to me and said this. They said, look, why you tell us we have to pray salah? You tell us we have to go to Hajj. You tell us we have to do Sawm. You tell us all of these things. Quran says La ikraha fid deen. You tell me that I have to do Hajj at least once in my life, but Allah has told me there's no compulsion in religion. I can relax. Whenever I feel like doing Hajj, I'll do Hajj. Whenever I feel like doing Salah, I'll do Salah. La ikraha fid deen had nothing to do with the Muslims once they are in Islam. La ikraha fid deen is regards to those people who first are not Muslim, don't force them. Show them the truth in the best way possible, in the way of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. If they accept the truth, they accept the truth. Not a Muslim can now come and say, I don't have to pray and do wudu and do any of these things because Allah says no compulsion. Like we have a masjid. No one is forcing you to enter into the masjid. But once you have entered into the masjid, you have to follow the rules of the mosque. And it's interesting when people bring this up, how can you have this in Islam? When they vote for the person in their country, you have this voting, no one forces you to vote. But once that person is elected, does anyone say, I have my freedom? I can do what I want now. You had your freedom. Your freedom was to choose what you want. Once you have chosen what you want, every single system has rules, has regulations. La ikraha fi din, therefore, was not with regards to those people who have entered into Islam. No compulsion in religion. Someone who is a non-Muslim, he can choose whether he wishes to enter into Islam or not. Once he has entered into Islam, he has to follow the rules of this religion. The final then discussion that comes with regards to this verse is how was it that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam were true manifestations of this verse, La ikraha fi din. One of the greatest emblems and signs without a doubt of this verse in Quranul Kareem, of freedom in religion, of freedom in thought, of freedom in ideology, was none other than Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Because this freedom is of course of different types. Freedom of aqeedah, political freedom, we all have these things. Amirul Mu'mineen, if you look at his life, he was the true ambassador of this freedom in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion. All of you have read the book or have heard of the book As-Sawtul Adalatul Insaniya, the voice of human justice. George Jordak, who had written many works, not just one work, he had written many works on the life of Amirul Mu'mineen. In the foreword of one of these works, and the voice of human justice has been condensed into English, very simple language, anyone can read it. So there can be no excuse that this book is only for ulama. This book is too difficult. Very simple language, giving beautiful insights into the life of Amirul Mu'mineen. In the foreword of one of these books, person writes that when George Jordak wrote this book on Amirul Mu'mineen's life, as a Christian, as a non-Muslim, he didn't have money to print this book. So he decides to go, where will I go first? I'm writing about these people as leader, I'll go to these people. So he says, I knocked on the door of the Shia. And I said, look, I'm trying to tell people about your Imam. The one whose wilayah you accept as your first Imam, I'm trying to tell the whole world about this man and his justice, his freedom, his qualities, everything. Print this book of mine. They said no. Where they were, who they were, we don't know. He says, I went to different communities, I went to this place and that place and that place. All of them said no. We're not going to print this book. It's your figure, it's not my figure. I'm a Christian. Yes, I love this man for his justice, but you love him as a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. He says, then I went to the Ahlul Sunnah. I said, he is one of your four Khalif, one of your Khulafa al-Rashidun, one of your rightly guided Khalif. Print this book. I'm telling the people about this individual, this man. They said no. I went to this place and that place. And an author, without a doubt, when an author goes through all of that effort to write and research, and then there is no publication at the end of it, it's very difficult. So George, after going wherever he could, trying whatever he could, one day he goes to his church. And he's sitting there, he's praying to his God. And he's very upset. That, I put all of this effort because the world needs to know about this man. The world will change if they see the ideology and the history and the life of this human being. But no one wants to print it. No one wants to give the money. So when he's sitting there, the bishop or whoever, the priest of that church, he says, George, you look a bit down today. What's the problem? Can I help you? He says, there's an issue, but leave it. You can't help. He says, no, tell me, maybe I can help in some way. He says, I had written a book on a personality, and I tried to get it printed, but no one is giving me the money to print it. He said, may I know who this personality is? He says, you won't know who this personality is. He is a Muslim figure, not a Christian figure. Just tell me that his name is Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is in the foreword of the book. His name is Ali ibn Abi Talib. As soon as that Christian priest hears his name is Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says, I'll give you the money for this book. He says, but why? What do you have to do with Ali ibn Abi Talib? He says, no, oh George, we have a big favor that Ali ibn Abi Talib has done upon us. He says, what? He says, when I, as a priest and a man of religion, studied the books of Christian history, I found out that a time came when there was a Khalif of the Muslimin who ruled for 4 years. Before him, there was complete injustice and oppression against the Christians. When this man came into rule, the Christian ulama of the time, they traveled towards Kufa and they went to this man, Ali. And they said, how will we be treated? For previously we have been treated in incorrect ways as well. How will we be treated under you? His reply was, know this, that as long as Ali ibn Abi Talib is in power, never will your right be taken. And that 4 years were the best 4 years that the Christians have lived under the Islamic Empire, and therefore we will pay for this book. This is what you call Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam being manifestations of verses of Quran. The Quran says there is no compulsion in religion. Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi was one of the pure manifestations of this. That a person with this justice, with this freedom of thought and intellect, that then when he, a few days before he passes away, they say Amir al-Mu'mineen comes out into the streets of Kufa, and the whole streets of Kufa are filled. And he stands there and he says that I challenge anyone to stand up right now and tell me that in the years that I have been your leader, even one person, whether they be Muslim, whether they be mushrik, whether they be kafir, one person has gone homeless for one day and one person's stomach has not been filled. And the history mentioned the thousands of people that were there in that rally. Not one person put a finger in front of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is the freedom of religion, that we will place what Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have given us. The treasures that we have, the jewels of this treasure of wilayah of Ahlul Bayt will show the people. No one is forced. If they wish to accept and they can see the truth, they will see. Because there are, for example, two paths to go to a certain place. One path is illuminated, is safe, is easy to cross. Another path is dark. Another path looks dangerous. You don't have to force someone, don't go into this path, go to this path. When it is clear, naturally that person will take the path that is illuminated. The problem is people haven't seen the illuminated path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam yet. Show them the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, then there's no need, your job has been done. The first one of the greatest manifestations of this verse was Ali ibn Abi Talib. The second greatest manifestation of this verse is that tonight we also remember someone who himself was called the free. Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, when he first is someone who prevents Imam Hussein from the water. Imam Hussein doesn't force him to do anything. Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi says, I will show him the truth, naturally he will come towards it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. When he saw the guidance that is Hussein ibn Ali, he's automatically going towards that. And this individual, Hur ibn Yazid, you will hear about his life, that when Ayatullah al-Uzma, Al-Marhum Sayyid Muhsin Hakim rahmatullahi alayhi, had gone to do the ziyarah of Hur, which is a bit outside Karbala al-Mu'alla. He says, I went to the ziyarah of Hur. When I went to the ziyarah of Hur, I stood in front of the Dari. And I said, Hur, number one, my lineage is greater than yours. I'm a Sayyid. You are not from the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He says, secondly, my status is greater than yours. I'm a faqih and a jurist. And the jurist has the greatest status after Ahlul Bayt and Imams is the status of the jurist, the faqih. He says, I'm a faqih and a jurist and a marja of taqleed. You weren't. Number three, I'm older than you. Sayyid Muhsin Hakim at this time was 70, maybe 80s. And Hur was 30, 35, 40. He says, I'm older than you. I have these three things which make me superior to you. Faqih, I'm a Sayyid, I'm older than you. Yet still, Ya Hur, when I do your ziyarah, my heart doesn't allow me to do your ziyarah sitting down. I have to stand and recite this ziyarah of yours. Because how difficult it is for someone when they see the truth in front of him, it's difficult for him then to take that path. And when people say and look at this issue as to why Hur then goes towards the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the first thing we are told is that when Hur prevents the water, when Imam Hussein is going towards Karbala, and Hur prevents Imam Hussein from going towards Kufa, and he prevents him from going to Kufa, Imam Hussein says, Hur, may your mother cry over you. That you are stopping the grandson of the Prophet of Islam to go to his destination, may your mother cry for you. You know what Hur says? Have you ever asked the question why others did not become like Hur as well in the army of Ubaidullah Umar ibn Sa'ad? Why there was only Hur? Hur then says, Yabna Rasulullah, if your mother was anyone else, I would have said this about you as well. But your mother is Fatima Zahra. Why does Hur change at the last moment? Why does he see قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ? Because he has respect for Fatima Zahra. Like Allah was telling us, if there is a person who has committed sins in his life, but he has love for Fatima Zahra, the door is always open for that person. When it then comes for Salatul Jama'ah, and Imam Hussein says to him, Hur, you are the leader of your army, you pray your Salatul Jama'ah. You lead your Salatul Jama'ah. And we will lead our Salatul Jama'ah. The second thing Hur says, I will pray behind you. When someone has respect for Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, even though they may be sinners, even though they may have gone against another path in their lives, but the story of Hur tells you, if you have respect for Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, the hands of Abu Abdullah are always there to accept you. And that's why on this night, when we remember the tragedy of Hur, every single person has things they have committed. Every single person has committed acts of disobedience towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use this night of Hur and the wasila of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, because a time comes when a person will be there in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Amir al-Mu'mineen would mention in his munajat of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Masjid Kufa, that day when the mother runs from the child and the child runs from the mother, everyone will be running away from each other. Use this night, use the power of Hussein ibn Ali and how he accepts Hur ibn Yazid to ask for forgiveness for all of your sins. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَأَسْأَلُكَ الْأَمَانَ يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ وَأَسْأَلُكَ الأمان يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه. Imam Ali says, Mawlaya, Ya Mawlaya, Mawlaya, Ya Mawlaya, Anta al-Mawla wa ana al-Abd wa hal yarhamu al-abda illa al-Mawla. These are the times when we remember the tragedy of Abu Abdullah, for a person to remember his sins and ask for forgiveness. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Mawlaya, Ya Mawlaya, Anta al-Dalilu wa ana al-Mutahayyir wa hal yarhamu al-Mutahayyir illa al-Dalil. Mawlaya, Ya Mawlaya, Anta al-Ghafir wa ana al-Mudhnib wa hal yarhamu al-Mudhnib illa al-Ghafir. These would have been the lines of Hur ibn Yazid, that Ya Allah, I am the one that has committed sin, for I have prevented the son of Zahra from going towards his destination. But Ya Allah, Anta al-Ghafoor, you are the one to forgive me. They say on the night of Ashura, Hur says, I saw myself bain al-Jannati wal-Nar, as if I could see the hellfire in front of me and I could see the paradise in front of me. Someone says, Hur, why are you shaking? He says, because Hur is about to go towards Abu Abdullah. He takes a white handkerchief and he ties his hands and he takes his son towards Abu Abdullah. As he goes towards Hussein, whenever anyone would try to go towards Hussein, Abu al-Fadl would always stand in front and stop that person. Abu al-Fadl says, Hur, what do you want? Why have you come here? He says, I want to see Abu Abdullah. I have come to repent. Hussein comes towards him. Hur says, Halli min at-tawbah ya Aba Abdullah. Is there any way for my repentance? Hussein says, I have already forgiven you, ya Hur. Hur then comes to the camp of Aba Abdullah, and then you will hear that Hur, when he comes with his son to the camp of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, allow us to go and fight, for we wish to be the first that fights for the grandson of the Prophet of Islam. Will you allow me, Ibn Rasulullah, for my son to go out first? Hussein says, yes, everyone will die on this day, even my 6-month-old. Therefore you can send your son as well. The son of Huyayr goes to the battlefield and he fights the enemies in the battlefield, and then he falls on the ground and he gives his salam to his father. Hur tries to go towards the battlefield to pick up the body of his son. Will you listen to what Aba Abdullah says? Aba Abdullah says, Huyayr, do not go to the battlefield. I will go to the battlefield to pick up the body of your son. Hur says, why, ya Aba Abdullah? Hussein says, because never does an old father pick up the body of his young son in the battlefield. I say, Hussein, you said never does an old father pick up the body of his son from the battlefield. Did you not pick up the body of Ali al-Akbar from the Maqdal? That as he tries to pick up the body of Akbar, he tries once and he would fall on the ground, and he tries a second time, but Hussein was weak and Akbar fell on the ground. After a few times, we are told Zainab says from the tents, Ya Hussein, should Zainab come and help you pick up Akbar? Hussein says, Zainab, never leave the tents while Hussein is alive, for there are people looking here. I said, Hussein, you did not allow Zainab to leave the tents, but after you died, they entered the tents of Zainab. Hussein then allows Hur to go to the battlefield. When Hur then is killed, he says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Rasulullah. Hussein says, I rushed to the battlefield and I took the head of Hur and I placed it on my lap. I say, Ya Aba Abdullah, you are the son of Zahra. You take the head of Hur and put it in your lap, but where will be your head in a few hours? Because there is no lap for the head of Aba Abdullah. Maybe the head of Aba Abdullah is in the lap of his mother Fatima Zahra. And then when the body of Huyayr lay on the ground, Hussein says, I picked up the body, but I send my salam to that madloom Imam whose body lay on Karbala for 3 days, and there was no one to pick up the body of Hussein, for they say the horses of Umar bin Saad began to crush the ribs of Aba Abdullah. ألا لعنة الله للقوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.